Prime Minister, dear Governor, dear guests.
Let me first congratulate Moldova, the National Bank of Moldova, as well as Governor Armasu wholeheartedly on 30 years of the national currency, the leu. It's a great achievement for a young country that was only established less than 2 years earlier. I'm here with two hats on. I'm the representative of Moldova in the board of the IMF, but I also have a background in your country because I was involved in some way in the establishment of the national currency about 25 years ago. So I have some basis on which to say a few words to you at this stage. And let me make a few quick points related to the development of the leu and the National Bank. First, I would say that with regard to the establishment of a new currency, you cannot really do it right, but you can certainly do it wrong. And I would say Moldova did it the right way. It went well, it learned lessons along the way, but it was certainly a great challenge and it became a great success for the country and for the financial system and for all the inhabitants of the country. And I have great respect for what has transpired in those early years when it was really quite a challenge to replace the old ruble. There was the coupon in between, and then the national currency, the leu, came about. My second point is that currencies are really about confidence, about trust. A banknote that you have in your wallet is basically a piece of paper, but combined with the trust you have in the national bank and combined with the trust you have in the government, it becomes money. And similarly, I would say your bank account and your bank balance that you see on the screen when you are banking through the internet in your home is also just a piece of dots on the screen, and it becomes money because you trust it to be money. So it is really vital, it is of key importance that there is trust and confidence in the financial system, and that I think was the major achievement when you created your own national currency 30 years ago, and it still continues to be a key element of that. My third point is about the role of the National Bank of Moldova, and I think here we can see an interesting combination of tasks and roles. Basically, the National Bank is what we call multitasking. It is doing many tasks at the same time. First and foremost, of course, it is responsible for monetary stability, and that is the key role of any central bank anywhere. Maintaining the value of the currency, that's a key role. And I think the recent decline in inflation, for instance, is a clear testimony to the success of the National Bank in performing that role. But it also carries, the central bank also carries responsibility for the functioning of the payment system and the financial infrastructure. And a well-functioning and smooth and low-cost payment system is the backbone of every important economy, and also here. And thirdly, and this is not the case everywhere, but it is the case here, the central bank is responsible for the soundness of the financial institutions. And in this case, not only the banks, but also more recently, the non-bank financial institutions. And that is a key additional role for the central bank to play. And we call this internationally, we call this a double integrated central bank. You integrate not only monetary policy and supervision, but you also create and integrate within supervision both banks and non-banks. And that is a major task of the National Bank here. And not all central banks in the world have all these tasks. If you look, for instance, at the European central banks, they have a shared responsibility for the euro, but they do it together. And not all of them have the responsibility for the financial sector supervision. So there is really a very challenging task ahead for the National Bank. And this brings me to my fourth point, which is a key element, and the governor mentioned it already, a key element for performing these roles and tasks adequately is that the central bank is sufficiently independent, that it can play its role in maintaining monetary and financial stability independently, and at the same time, of course, being accountable and being transparent about how it goes about performing these particular tasks. Then maybe just a few points about my role as your representative in Washington in the IMF. We do all realize we all realize that Moldova is going through a difficult period. There is the totally unjustifiable attack by Russia on Ukraine that has an impact on your country, on your economy, on your financial system, and that has an impact on all elements, on growth, on inflation, on your external position, on prices, on energy. And I think Moldova has handled this very well in the past year and a half. I think the right mix of monetary and fiscal policies was applied, and that has been the result has been of that the country has done relatively well, also in these very difficult times of its existence. And of course, the IMF was mentioned, and I'm very pleased to hear that. And let me tell you that we tried to also support you, first of all, with emergency support right after the Russian invasion, but also subsequently by increasing the size and accelerating the existing program we had with Moldova, which is currently, I think, going very well, and there will be very recently, again, a discussion in Washington on that program. So I can congratulate not just the National Bank, but also the authorities, Prime Minister, ministers here with that result. And I think another element where the IMF could be helpful was that we have been providing technical assistance and capacity building advice to also help Moldova in further developing its institutional framework. I think all this also fits in nicely with the European ambitions of the country, the move towards the European Union, and this, I think, is a clear target, a clear objective for the authorities in the time to come. And also there, the IMF stands ready to support you. Finally, I will round off. I think the National Bank of Moldova has come a long way from a highly uncertain and difficult post-ruble environment about 30 years ago to a strong, independent guardian of the national currency, the leu. Challenges remain, we have to be clear about that, but it is clear that with 30 years of a track record now, I'm confident that the NBM can handle these challenges and can further develop the national currency and the national financial system, and thereby also the economy in Moldova further to prosperity and good economic results. Thank you very much.